Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, and empowerment coach. And I'm here today with part 2 of the full moon in Cancer that is on January 6, 2023 at 3:07 p.m. Pacific time. I'm doing this part 2 because in the first video, I discovered a theme emerging in a series of 7 sequential full moons, all at the 16th degree. When I personally watched that video, I realized I didn't actually address this particular full moon in Cancer enough. So I wanted to come back and then go by your rising sign and address each one of the signs and the house that this will affect. So I want to encourage you, though, to go check out part 1, because there is a theme emerging that as you look at the houses that this is going to influence in your personal chart, you're going to see how the renovation in your life is playing out, and that will give you an opportunity to make intentional and conscious choices moving forward in 2023. So for the purposes of this video, it's whole sign Western astrology. I'm going to start with Aries, and I'm going to work my way towards Pisces and talk about the aspects and how it's going to affect what houses for you. So Aries, this starts off, the full moon is in your 4th house of home. Cancer naturally rules the 4th house. This is the house of nurturing of others, the caretaker, the nurses, the people who are selfless to others on some level in their willingness to be maternal and to make people feel safe and at home and cozy. And this is also the house of intuition, the house of that gut instinct. Cancer naturally rules the heart chakra, the breast area, the chest area, and it rules the womb. So it's naturally a place where we grow things, where things gestate. So here, I think this full moon is illuminating for Aries where you have potentially been operating on an old story that you experienced in your home life, and how that experience is affecting you when you project yourself into your career sector and your money sector. The full moon is a culmination of a cycle, and I'm pretty sure y'all know that, so I'm not going to go into the opposition stuff. But the sun, the moon is opposing the sun is in Capricorn at 16 degrees, and it is conjunct Mercury retrograde at 17 degrees. So this full moon is illuminating how you've been seen and projected in the outside world, what you've been speaking about, what you've been reading, teaching. Mercury rules so many communication dynamics. It rules the way we think about ourselves. It rules the way we perceive other people in some way, because it's very social as it goes around and dispenses information. So this conjunction makes me feel like it's asking me if the sun and Mercury, am I really allowing myself the privilege of looking at the pattern thoughts I have and determining whether they are current in this chapter of my life, because that sun is also trining Uranus at 15 degrees, which is the Gemini degree, and that is what Mercury rules. Mercury is at 17 degrees, which is the Leo degree, the heart chakra. And the pattern I'm seeing with these moons is that we are starting to determine how we've been led in thought versus how we are independently thinking and deciphering the things around us. So here, I think Aries has an opportunity to come to some sort of conclusion about how they want to be perceived in the public eye. That's what your 10th house rules. And having Mercury, Venus is still, I believe, in the 10th house as well. So there's been this period of time where you've been reviewing how you value yourself and how you want to expand yourself. We know Jupiter's in your first house right now. And also it is that trine aspect to Uranus in your second house of Taurus is giving you an opportunity to release old patterns that have made you feel as if people were not seeing you as you truly are. I'm an Aries rising, and I have been, in my life's journey, many people thought I was hostile, a little too aggressive, which is very Arian, but I'm very assertive when it comes to imbalance, and I will not back down. And other people are willing to just sort of turn their heads. So I have been able to rewrite that story from hostility to a little more of a hero energy, and now fine-tuning how I project myself in the world, how I use my words, how am I being engaging and enrolling, or am I just being pushy and in some way disengaging? Mars has been going through Gemini for months now. Mars will is still retrograde in Gemini, and then it will move forward. So it's giving Aries an opportunity to review how you are projecting yourself in your teammates, your workmates, your siblings. It's time to fine tune how you speak to others so that instead of pushing them out, you engage them in your ideas, in your passions, in your pioneering spirit to move a new story forward. And I think this is really powerful for you, because I think, Aries, you have an opportunity to make more money as you, between the idea that Jupiter is in your first house, expanding things, we have Chiron in your first house, giving you an opportunity to turn your wound into a gift. And now we have this Cancer full moon illuminating whether you are carrying an old story into your present and future, or whether you're willing to rewrite that story, knowing you cannot change it. So it flips it from the kind of the victim to the victor. And this will be very much seen in the house of building. Capricorn builds. So this is an opportunity to take the higher vibrations of these planets. Taurus is also a builder, but it grows things, and so this is growing more bounty, more money, more opportunities for you to be seen as a leader and to take that as the hero versus sometimes people just think Mars is pushy and Aries is very Martian. All right, let's go on to our Tauruses. The Cancer full moon is in the third house for you, and it's going to bring to a conclusion, an epiphany. And I very much think this is an internal full moon. This is not necessarily about things happening in the outside world, but how I am processing things, how I'm feeling about things. Oftentimes, when it comes to the house of home, Cancer, we see certain things in the media. We see how people are if you go to the Hallmark Channel is a perfect example of sort of idealizing a situation. And in the everyday world, sometimes we experience people not really changing. So Taurus, you're a fixed sign. You are having this full moon in the house of siblings, of your neighborhood, meaning the third house also is ruled by Mercury. It's what you think, what you speak, what you're saturating your mind with in the way of the media. And now this is Cancer. Am I nurturing myself? This is about deciphering between what you know on the interior, in your inner knowing, that gut instinct that almost rubs up against what you're hearing on the outside world and it not resonating. There's a conflict of some kind. So now this is allowing you to bring closure to the conflict and to trust yourself, your inner knowing, in a way that maybe you never have before. Capricorn is your ninth house. The ninth house is naturally the house connected to the angelic realm. It's the house of our beliefs. It's the house of philosophy, of higher learning, of the questions, who am I? Why am I here on earth? What is the purpose of all of this? And Taurus is your first house. So we have in Capricorn the Sun and Mercury retrograde, rethinking my belief system, rethinking what it is in relation to my community, in relation to my siblings, in relation to my work situation, the people that I work with, not necessarily the structure itself, and giving yourself permission to come to a conclusion that empowers you versus diminishes you. Because Uranus being in your first house is liberating you. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So the theme of this full moon is to review how my thoughts serve me, how my repetitive story, is it drawing in that story over and over again? Or am I now starting to say to myself, well, that was then, and maybe now there's something new that can happen, or there can be a new experience. I think this is very powerful. Again, we are experiencing a series of 7 full moons in the lower hemisphere where the soul is discovering itself in the human experience before it takes that into the public eye. And now here we're seeing you have an opportunity to really liberate yourself, which Uranus has been offering you. We're not even going to talk about the North Node right now, traveling through your house. I'm going to try to just stick to the aspects of this full moon. So I think this is a really powerful opportunity to dig deep into how you perceive your own value, how you perceive what is important to you. Do you nurture yourself, or are you looking outside of yourself for someone to start that nurturing before you will give yourself permission to take the reins? Because I think this series of moons is asking us to take the reins ourselves, to look inside before we go outside. All right, Gemini, the full moon is in your second house. This is going to bring a culmination. This is going to bring, I think, an epiphany, an illumination, especially about Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is conjunct the sun, but Mercury is retrograde. So this is a review, an opportunity to rest, an opportunity for you to really take the reins of, am I running through my life and am I caring for everyone around me? Because if I'm not showing myself in the picture, how do I expect others to see me in the picture? That's the way I want to put it. This Sun and Mercury conjunction is in your 8th house of transformation. Again, we are looking at the Cancer full moon is going to illuminate how you nurture yourself, how you use your voice, how you use your skills, how you value yourself in relation to other people. And if you've given up your power to other people, the Sun conjunct Mercury is giving you an opportunity to review that and to take the reins of allowing that story to progress forward when Mercury moves forward. We have Taurus, your 12th house. The 12th house is a place where I don't see things. It's behind me, and it's very ancestral and karmic in that way, because it's where the soul leaves the physical experience to go back into the conscious collective. So here, Uranus trining the Sun and Mercury is giving me an opportunity to break a karmic pattern, or at least be aware of a karmic pattern, and then slowly start to implement thoughts, speech, what I watch on the media, and to start to rewrite that story. Because again, I'm going to go back to the idea that part 1 of this video is illuminating the theme that started back in October. And it's not just with the full moons, it's with the new moons as well. And the idea that when we get to the 7th, or I should say the 8th full moon in this succession, it's going to be an eclipse, I believe. it's either the new moon or the full moon, is an Aries eclipse at the 0 degree. Might be, I'm sorry, it is a new moon. So we're teeing up this environment to support a new beginning in a very powerful way when we come to the spring of 2023. All right, Cancer. This full moon is in your first house of self. It is very much going to bring into focus how you're nurturing yourself, how you are expressing your intuitive body. And I want to offer it this way, because Cancer can kind of be a little bit duplistic in their inner knowing, can trigger their insecurity. And I don't think that that's necessary. I think that it's kind of ignoring an opportunity or dismissing a tool that you have. And I think that's what this full moon will illuminate for you, is not to be afraid of your inner knowing, not to necessarily think that that inner knowing is triggering a negative situation or something that will be challenging. So I really feel like this is important, because the sun is conjunct Mercury in your 7th house of partnerships. And it isn't just the house of partnerships. It's a house of building harmony, peace, that real warm, fuzzy home life that you like. When I think of Capricorn, I could run into the depressing and the oppressive and all the lower elements of Capricorn, but I don't believe that's true anymore. I think Pluto's transit through Capricorn has changed that. And now it's our job to catch up with the transformation that the stars are offering us, because Uranus is in your 11th house of networks, but it's the 11th house of hopes and dreams. So Cancer, I'm going to focus in on the first house is you giving yourself permission to nurture yourself, trust your inner knowing, connect with your intuitive body, because that actually serves the partnerships in your life. It brings in more harmony and more peace and more connectedness. And then that stokes your 11th house of hopes and dreams. The 11th house by nature is what they call an Upachaya house. It is ruled by Saturn, which naturally rules Capricorn. So there is a delay attached to it, but there is also a very strong and rooted reward opportunity. And so as you implement this idea of, I am as important as everything else, my wants and desires, my nurturing, my inner knowing, my trusting that inner knowing enough to give myself a physical experience that confirms and validates that inner knowing. And that's going to move you forward in a big way. And I also want to offer you this, because many of you may discover that this full moon illuminates that if indeed you're a single Cancer and you're looking for a partnership, surprisingly enough, this full moon could end your singlehood and bring in a partnership that offers you your hopes and your dreams. We'll see. Okay, Leo, Cancer is your 12th house. So this full moon is going to bring the culmination of a cycle where I really think that this is I think this is about Leo gestating something. I think this is about Leo. Leo rules conception of children. Cancer rules the family, the maternal experience. So I believe that this is about connecting with your artistry, your creativity, your passions. The 12th house is ruled by Neptune. It rules photography, it rules film, it rules dance, it rules poetry. So somewhere here, there's an opportunity for you to have an epiphany about maybe you're holding yourself back. Capricorn is naturally your 6th house of work, of service, of health. And Taurus is your 10th house of the public eye, of the career, of how you're seen. So we go from not being seen by the self in the 12th house, where this moon is taking place, to the aspects hitting being seen in the public eye. And I think that this is an opportunity for you to really review if you're allowing yourself the privilege of expression, the privilege of creativity, the privilege of birthing something that just comes from you and from the body that allows for that dreaminess that the 12th house has. And I mean it in a fun way, not in a pie in the sky way. The idea that Mercury is retrograde conjunct this full moon, Mercury's at the 17th degree, which is the Leo degree. So reviewing about, am I taking leadership in how I'm projecting myself out in the world? Am I really giving myself a fair shake, or am I being too critical of myself? Because Capricorn being your 6th house could inadvertently really illuminate that you've been letting fears, you've been letting yourself stand on something that is no longer current. And that's why it needs to come to a culmination and to an ending. And I think what we're seeing in general in our media, social media, is a real encouragement and a support of self-expression. We see it in TikTok and how people are creating their own channels on YouTube and various things on Instagram. So I want to encourage my Leos to allow this Cancer 12th house to illuminate where you have maybe held yourself back, or you've been only allowing your dreams or your creativity to be something you do alone, like in your bedroom. And maybe now it's an opportunity to start to tee up this to move into more of a public eye and potentially even make some sort of money. It could be very well be the service that helps others by allowing yourself that self-expression. All right, Virgo, the full moon is going to be in your 11th house of networks, of hopes and dreams, of it's interesting as I say this, I almost feel like this has something to do with innovation, moving forward, moving into areas where Virgo has never gone before. The 11th house is naturally ruled by Aquarius, and we see it making an aspect. Well, the moon isn't, but the sun will be to Uranus. So let me back up a little bit, because the full moon is in your 11th house. There's an illumination somewhere of, are you willing to move forward in an innovative way, to allow yourself to go where you've never gone before? I kind of think of it as the cosmic consciousness of exploring these dynamics that are being offered to us through the planetary activity and through these philosophical things that we're seeing peppered through these transitions. Because Capricorn is your 5th house of creativity, of conception, of romance, and Taurus is your 9th house of beliefs. And the sun in this full moon is conjunct your ruling planet, Mercury retrograde. So this is about reviewing how I want to move myself forward. Potentially you want to create your own channel, or you want to renovate your own presence on the internet or on the internet platforms. And this is about really going down deep into how you want to express yourself, what you think is fun, how you review your creative body, because the 9th house where Taurus is offering you liberation in your self-expression. So if you've been only focusing in on how will the audience respond, this could really put you in a paralyzing energy. It could, because people all respond differently. So as we see this full moon in the 11th house, it's about expressing yourself in a broad, worldwide, technologically innovative, moving forward way. And at the same time, going back and saying, is this aligned to my hopes and dreams? Because the 5th house is another house that has to do with your personal expression, which personal expression is attached to our hopes and our dreams. And then the 9th house, Uranus, is going to give you an opportunity to liberate yourself from any old stories, any diminishing of your voice, any imprinted beliefs that you have from your history in this personal, earthly experience. And now give you an opportunity to set a new course, to make a plan for moving forward in the future, so that when you're being dutiful in your work, and when you're being dependable, and when you're being practical, it's all serving your hopes and desires, which is actually being of service to a larger audience. Okay, let's go on to our Libras. Your 10th house is Cancer. It is where this full moon is going to be. And the 10th house is interesting because the 10th house represents your public image. It also represents this change in status. And this makes me feel like there could potentially be a change in status around the home life, because Capricorn is your 4th house and Taurus is your 8th house. 4th house naturally rules Cancer, and the 8th house naturally rules transformation and connection with other people. So here, I think that there's the potential that Libra will have this culmination of something about, it's funny here, I'm connecting somehow to your neighborhood. I think it's because we're looking at a 4th house, 10th house situation. So I'm feeling like there could be the potential that there's something coming to a culmination in your home. And it could be your children are going off to college. It could be that you're doing some sort of shift in your home environment, transforming the home. Let me give you a mundane situation. There could be that Libra, with this Cancer full moon in the 10th house and the sun being in the 4th house of Capricorn, conjunct Mercury, making a trine to Uranus in your 8th house, Taurus, you could start in the new year, you could be planning a renovation, literally, where your whole neighborhood sees that you've renovated your home. And if indeed you don't physically make a change, then you are going to internally make a change. Cancer naturally rules intuitive energy, inner emotionals, the depths of my emotional body. So you're going through a real transformation and a liberation of the combination of how you experience nurturing in your life. And if it's a Capricorn 4th house, you may have experienced it in a way that felt dry, or it felt stern, or it felt dutiful. And now Uranus is liberating you from that. In Taurus, it's giving you an opportunity to implement some Venusian energy. And I think that isn't about cozy pillows here, but about your voice. Mercury is retrograde conjunct the sun. How do you speak of your current situation, and it could very well bring a culmination, and you start to realize that you've been dragging an old story into a new situation just because it's always been that way, and now you start to rewrite that story, and in many ways rebel against the old story, which I think is kind of good for Libra. Scorpio, Cancer is your 9th house. So we're going to see an opportunity for you to really renovate your belief system, and in a very strong way, potentially go where no man has gone before. When I say that, I'm thinking that, the 9th house naturally rules foreign travel. It rules philosophical concepts and ideologies. It rules higher education, masters, PhDs, taking my education to a higher level. It rules the Supreme Court. It rules religion. It rules the connection to the angelic realm. And Scorpio by nature is a very psychological sign. And Cancer by nature is a very emotional sign. So here, I think Scorpio is going to get an opportunity. The South Node is also in your house. So there is an opportunity here where you may establish, or I should say, identify old patterns, because the sun being in your 3rd house conjunct Mercury retrograde, naturally ruling the 3rd house, could bring an illumination, a culmination of how you've been inadvertently thinking in a pattern, talking in a pattern. This is how it is. I'm broke. I'm broke. I'm broke. Nothing ever works for me. People are always against me. You may have this loop that suddenly you become aware of, and it's not just the outside world bringing these energies in, but you anticipating them in certain situations. And now you get to bring that into a culmination and sort of end that cycle, because now we see Taurus being your 7th house. This is about partnerships. It's about, not just partnerships with an intimate partner, but professional partnerships. And all of that feels like it's going to be infused with an energy that is requiring more peace, requiring more harmony, more diplomacy, more fairness in general. So I think for Scorpio, the South Node has been going through your first house and asking you to be egoless in this sense. It's not about erosion. And it's really, technically it's about releasing toxic energy, but these are toxic energies that are built on a human structure versus a spiritual structure. So here you really get to look at with this Cancer being your 9th house, this is an opportunity to be very intuitive and connect with your team of heavenly hosts and start to look at them as your true support system moving forward. The team that gives you those inspirations on a deep level and starts to make you aware of the thoughts that serve you versus don't serve you, or the speech that you're saying that serves you rather than doesn't serve you, so that you can really start to feel more harmony and balance in your partnerships. And with Taurus being your 7th house, this is also the partnership with how you view your family history, how you view your skills, how you view the difference between Scorpio rules other people's money. So it can be, either you could be the person ruling the money, or you could be the person who receives money from someone else. Now we go to the 7th house of partnerships is Taurus, and this is where you use your skills to make your own money. So this could very well bring an epiphany of some kind about how Scorpio now wants to use their own intuitive body, their own psychological knowing, their own power and control within their mind to create something more tangible, more earthbound within that 7th house. And I think that 7th house is coming into partnership with who you are as an individual. So that makes your outside partnerships healthier and stronger and deeply rooted. Okay, Sagittarius, this Cancer full moon is going to be in your 8th house. Naturally, the 8th house rules transformation in a big way. It rules sex, it rules psychology, it rules astrology and the spiritual realm. I hate to use the word occult because it has the negative connotation. Capricorn is your 2nd house of skills, of the voice, of family history, of money making. And then we have Taurus being your 6th house of service, work, and health. I believe for you that this full moon for Sagittarius is going to transform your inner knowing. It's almost as if that foreign, Sagittarius rules foreign lands. I think the foreign land here is the inner body, is the inner knowing, is trusting that gut instinct that most people will say, well, how are you going to do that? And you'll say, I don't know. I'm waiting for inspiration from the other side. And that's the transformation. And then you take that into your 2nd house and you start applying it. Your voice starts talking about abundance. You start to feel your power. You start to feel that awareness of a deep psychological imprint that up until now may have been holding you back, but now you've been illuminated and you're more ready to take the time to review your own thought process before taking action. And I think that this liberates you on some level, health-wise, like stress-wise. It lowers your stress and it makes you start to get excited about what you want to birth into your work everyday life. And I want to offer it this way because I believe that more and more we're going to see people not necessarily going to brick and mortar jobs or necessarily working for other people, but actually being more entrepreneurial. And so I think this is really an opportunity for you to start to The sun and Mercury are conjunct on the day of the full moon, Mercury being at 17 degrees of, which is the Leo degree. That's the degree of my expression, my enjoyment, my pleasure, my laughter, my entertainment. So I think this is a real opportunity for you to take this full moon's illumination and then start to plan how you want to implement that as we move further and further into 23, 24, 25, the years. Okay, Capricorn. Cancer is your 7th house. So this full moon is going to be in your house of harmony and partnership, diplomacy. It's interesting to me because Capricorn has been going through such a transformation, having Pluto in your first house for quite some time, since 2008. And here we see the sun in Capricorn at 16 degrees conjunct Mercury. And this is in your first house. So this is really going to give you an opportunity to see how you might hang on to your fears, how you might purport stoic behaviors that are actually so archaic and so historic and so old that they're pulling you under. And Pluto is like trying to pull you up and out from underneath all of those things, and has been for quite some time. So when I look at this full moon, I think this full moon is how you're coming into partnership with yourself, because the sun is in your first house conjunct Mercury, and then Uranus is in your fifth house of pleasure, of fun, of gestation, meaning of conception. The fifth house is where we conceive children and where we conceive a childlike energy. So I think Capricorn has an opportunity to truly start to look at the series of 7 full moons at the 16th degree, which is the Cancer degree, which is going to, in many ways, repeatedly ask you, Capricorn, how you're taking care of yourself. Are you nurturing yourself in a way that gives you permission to thrive in enjoyment and to enjoy the journey versus just building in the material world or building and being dutiful to others? Capricorn, I really believe you're turning into the baby goat. And I believe that the old goat is going to be the B side of this story, not the A side. And this full moon is giving you an opportunity to truly liberate yourself from that idea, with the trine to Uranus retrograde at 15 degrees, which is, again, a mercurial degree of how I think. So this is very powerful. Aquarius. Cancer is your 6th house. So we're going to see, I think, I just totally got the hit that this is about your health, about your nerves, about how you're giving yourself an opportunity to look at when you start to feel nervous or when you get triggered a little bit with potentially anxiety. This could be Spirit's way of alerting you that you are outside of your intuitive body and outside of the version of the life you want to live versus being inside of it. The 6th house is where you are of service. It's where you are enslaved to something. It also rules our pets. Excuse me. Capricorn is your 12th house. So we are seeing the sun in your 12th house conjunct Mercury. There's an illumination of your thought process. And this full moon has your ruling planet trining the sun. So we're seeing Mercury being the lower octave of Uranus, Uranus being in your 4th house of home, but also of self-nurturing, of intuition, of the inner knowing, the gut instinct. So I think, Aquarius, this is an opportunity for you. I think this is talking about your mental health. I think this is where it's focused. I think you're going to come to a culmination or an illumination or the end of a cycle where you don't listen to that little voice, because I think when you don't listen to your inner voice, it starts to give you anxiety. It starts to push on you because Uranus is such a strong energy, and we are breaking the repression that Saturn naturally tends to purport. And both these two planets rule you. And here we're going to see you start to trust a little bit that inner knowing, that part of you that can't see, that 12th house, and you're going to build upon it. So Capricorn, being your 12th house, is an opportunity to examine where your fears may lead to depression or isolation or a feeling of being exiled. And now when you allow yourself to trust that inner knowing and nurture that inner knowing, you will start to find tribe members and people who align to the way you think, the way you feel, the innovation that you offer. And I think you'll start to feel more at home. That's where your fourth house comes in, where your ruling planet is traversing the house of home, allowing you to rebel and liberate yourself from old stories that don't serve the innovated, renovated, new version of you. So I think that's super powerful. Pisces, this Cancer full moon is going to be in your fifth house of romance, of fun, of entertainment, of children and pleasure. And it's the fifth house is the most enjoyable house of the whole zodiac. So here we're going to have a culmination of where you have been not allowing yourself to enjoy yourself, to have fun, to nurture yourself, to trust your deeply intuitive knowing. And I want to offer it this way because Pisces kind of has this natural tendency to be empathetic and compassionate and to want to fix other people, to help them, to go into their story and try to rewrite it. And I think this is an opportunity where you get to liberate yourself from that, because Capricorn is your 11th house. And I think that sometimes the best way we can nurture somebody or nurture and be empathetic is to trust the power they have within. And your third house is Taurus. So let me kind of back up, Pisces. The full moon is in your fifth house. The sun is in your 11th house, conjunct Mercury. This is the 11th house of hopes and dreams and of the ability to make money. Then we have Taurus, your third house. Uranus retrograde is trining the sun. So you have an opportunity here to really come to a conclusion of how you're allowing yourself to birth your enjoyment, your pleasure, your self-expression, the things that you want to experience. It may even be literally children, maybe a time you want to do that. And then as you look at the 11th house, you can see, have I been supporting that idea, or have I inadvertently been focusing on others, or within, the third house rules my neighborhoods, my teammates, my workmates, my siblings. And here I feel like there's a liberation from that, and putting a focus back in on your own hopes and desires rather than being absorbed into other people's hopes and desires and inadvertently thinking they're yours. I also want to say this about Pisces, because I feel as if when I go into that fifth house, I don't think this is about trying to hit the ground running. We're seeing a full moon, which is bringing an epiphany in my mind, that my mind has been ruling where my heart should be. And now this is about allowing myself the opportunity to start to implement awareness, is the way I want to put it. Are my thoughts serving me? Because we all have an imprint. The brain is literally a muscle that is branded in the beginning of this experience. And we already bring in a personality that is calling forth an opportunity to evolve within the physical experience. So here, I think this is a bit of an opportunity for Pisces to liberate themselves from what other people think and put their wants, their desires, their hopes, and their dreams in the forefront, at the top of the list. And as you do that, you inadvertently and divinely invite others to do that, which is the greatest form of empathy and compassion. Rather than being absorbed into someone else's story, allow them on some ways to experience your story and the invitation that it offers. Okay, that's it for part 2 of the Cancer full moon. I really want to encourage you to check the first one. We've got some really strong themes and patterns going on that I think are, with a little bit of awareness, really going to set an opportunity up for us to be intentional, and then to stand like lighthouses around this earth, knowing Spirit is protecting us because we are helping to protect others as we represent the possibilities versus the fear bubbles that seem to permeate today. All right, everybody, thanks so much. I'm Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you'd like to book a reading with me, my information is below and I am available. And please please share, please subscribe. It helps the work. It helps me to know that you are enjoying the channel. All right, everybody. Peace out.